So day 11 on the CDT. Today was actually a town day, so it was 0 miles except walking around town, and it felt good to give my body a rest. Um, Again, thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos during the trip. I appreciate that, and the shout out today goes to all the mothers out there. So happy Mother's Day. Fortunately, I was in town and I was able to give my mom a call and wish her a happy Mother's Day. So I I'll keep this short today since it was a 0 day, but there were kind of two things that stuck out to me today. And some of these things like come back to you, like when you do a through hike, and I had a gap between mine, so the PCT was 2013 and now it's 2022, so I had like 9 years, right? But I remember today when I was walking around town that when you get to a town and you don't have a car and you're walking around town, you get to see a side of whichever town, city, whatever the size of it is. You get to see a side of it that you normally don't see if you're zooming around in a car or on a bike or with a group of people. When you're walking around kind of solo, you get to see little nuances, and your schedules is a little bit different because you don't have somewhere to be. Maybe a store opens up that you need to go to, or like the post office opens up and you want to get there, but the schedule that you have is kind of a little bit off. So like you may eat breakfast or lunch or dinner at a different time. You may decide like, hey, this is the first time I've got to sleep in, so I'm gonna miss breakfast or brunch, but maybe have lunch at 11:30 or 11, or maybe even 3:30 afternoon because I took a nap or whatever it is. And when you're kind of on that offbeat, as I mentioned, you get to see different things, and you can see these things I think anytime. But the second piece is not only noticing the little things, but the second piece is because you're off schedule and because you don't have somewhere to be. Like right now I don't have a job. My job is to walk to Canada. Right now I don't have a place to live. I'm not paying rent. I'm not having to work to pay bills. I have to just be careful with my money. But on the weekends, I think when you have a regular job, you're trying to get like all your personal stuff done or whatever personal stuff you can, and you can feel just as rushed on the weekends as you do during the week. And you don't have that when you're hiking. I mean, a 0 day is literally that. You spend most of the day sitting down watching television or checking email or paying bills if you have some, or you're off your feet. That's the point. And so you're not doing a whole lot. So when you go out and about, your errands may be walking around for an hour and a half, but you're not in a rush. And there were a few things that happened when I was walking around that kind of just triggered the reminders of when you get out of the hustle and bustle of things. You get to see the nitty gritty. So I was walking to Walmart because I was trying to look for some insoles, and unfortunately this town, as far as I can tell so far, they don't have them. But I was walking to Walmart, and there was a lady with a sign. She was panhandling, and she had two dogs, and the major intersections where the cars are, they don't have shade. And so like the lady and the dogs were just sitting in the sun, and then they could only do it for so long, and then they'd go jump over to some shade for a few minutes before they came back out to the road. And then there was a gentleman. I went to a restaurant to get something to eat, and there was a gentleman who like the people at the restaurant knew him, and you could tell this gentleman had hit some hard times. And he walked up to the register, and the person working the register was like, hey, and said his name, and he said, what do you want? And the gentleman, he ordered like the cheapest meal you could get, and it came back to like $3.89, I think was the cost. And the gentleman, like the customer, like gave $1 and a bunch of change, which for all I know, he could have been panhandling to get that change. And he said, "This is what I got. What can I buy with this?" And the person working the cash register is like, there's nothing that costs this. And he called the manager over and said, "Can we float the 40 cents or 60 cents, whatever, that the person was short?" And the manager approved it. But who knows, maybe 3 hours later on a different shift, that same customer comes in and the next manager won't float it. And then the third person I saw was an older gentleman. And I was in Walgreens picking up some there in my first aid. Like, you carry preventative medicine in your first aid, not just vitamin I, ibuprofen, but you'll carry like Tylenol or aspirin. But you also carry like Benadryl, and you'll carry like a Imodium. And I forgot that I the Imodium in my pack was expired, and I forgot to pick some up. So I went to Walgreens to pick up some Imodium just in case, because you don't want to get dehydrated out in the trail, especially in the desert. And there's an older gentleman, probably in his 70s, who he was about to pay for something, and the whatever item he was picking up was like 30 cents more than he expected. And he asked the cashier, like, "Hey, did the price increase on this?" Cashier's like, "This is what the computer's telling me." So the guy's like, "Wait a minute," and he went back over to the aisle where the item was to check the tag, and sure enough, the price had increased by 30 cents, likely because of supply chain or inflation, whatever it is. And he came back to the cashier and was like, "Oh yeah, it increased." And so, like, having to worry about like those different cents, like your finances are so tight that a 30 cents difference or 40 cents difference or 60 cents difference is the difference between a person being able to eat or a person being able to pick up the item they need from Walgreens. And like, the woman was, I think, in her mid 30s. The gentleman at the restaurant, at the fast food restaurant, was maybe late 30s, 40s, early 40s. And then the gentleman at Walgreens was in his, I think, maybe late 60s, early 70s. So like, it was spanning different ranges. And really hit home of, hey, the supply chain. So the prices are increasing because of supply chain and the inflation, and just different areas of the country get hit differently with economic needs. And I just drilled home, like, being thankful for what you have, and making sure that you pause at least every once in a while and just say, like, I'm thankful, even though I don't have a job right now. If something costs 30 cents more, it's not make or break for me. And again, just walking around town, just really drilled home that fact. So on Mother's Day, I want to give thanks to the mothers, and just give thanks to the reminder of visiting a town and walking around town and seeing the nitty gritty of make sure that you're thankful. Like, even though I have foot pain and I have blisters, like, if that's my biggest concern right now, I'm still able to, so far, have hiked 157 miles across the country, and I'm hoping to hike approximately 2,800 more. So just being thankful that I have the funds to get into town and stay in a hotel. I have the funds to make sure I can eat when I get into town, or do a resupply, or purchase supplies that I need, like insoles. So it was just a reflection day, and I think a lot of times 0 days end up being reflection day. So me personally, I was able to address some of my blisters. So I was able to sand some of the blisters down to, like, they had already been drained for a while, so I was able to sand them down to calluses, and make sure that there's no like any kind of issues underneath the calluses, like moisture or whatever. And then I was also able to cut away some of the dead skin from some of the blisters, and start letting my feet kind of just be on their own, and hopefully have some tougher skin, so I don't have blisters going forward. So that's what I did today. Just chilled out, ate some food, made sure I got my fluids, took care of my feet, and reflected a bit. So I hope everyone's well. Again, thank you very much for watching the videos. Just as a reminder, I think I mentioned in the last video, as I hike through the outpost and then over to the next town, that next town is it's a really small town. I don't think there's hotels or anything. So there's going to be some videos for the next few days, and then, or the previous few days, I should say. This will be the last video, and then once I get to a town with a hotel with Wi-Fi or some kind of restaurant with Wi-Fi, I'll post some more videos. So it could be a few days where you don't have any videos, but then suddenly you may get, a slew of videos in a short period of time. So stick with me. Thank you again to everyone, and I hope everyone has a great week.